Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. We'll give everyone a few minutes to jump on here, and then I'll go ahead and kick things off. Okay, see a good amount of people in here already. Thanks again for attending. We'll go ahead and kick things off. Session is being recorded. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the third session in this ITOM talk series, Knowledge Worth Spreading. Our session today focuses on health log analytics. A few housekeeping items for you all before we start. All participants will be muted upon entry just to assist with some bandwidth issues. With that being said, we really encourage you all to utilize that Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom dashboard window. We also have time allotted at the end to ensure we get all of those answered if we can't touch on any of them live during the presentation. Without further ado, I'll pass it off to our first presenter, Nick Dumar. Take it away, Nick.
Appreciate that, Cooper. Yeah, great to meet all of you. Hope you're all having a great morning or afternoon, wherever you're located. And yeah, welcome to session 3 of 6 for our ITOM talk series. So today we'll be chatting about health log analytics, one of our offerings, and just reviewing how to deliver high performance business services with predictive AI ops, which is a combination of our ITOM event management and also the health log analytics that we'll be chatting to today. So I'll be taking us through a few slides just to kick things off here. And then I'll pass it over to Lauren Miller, our solutions consultant within ITOM. She's our subject matter expert there, and she'll show us a bit of a demo and go through HLA. So we can go ahead and kick things off. So yeah, just a quick agenda. So to start and sort of level set, I'll start with the platform of platforms slide. And that's really our mindset and our vision at ServiceNow for what we see for the platform and what we like to provide for our customers. Then I'll go through a quick deck of health log analytics. Lauren will take us through the demo, and then we'll make sure we get all of your questions answered in the last portion. And this safe harbor notice. So this slide is just to please remember that this presentation may contain forward-looking statements that reflect the current beliefs of ServiceNow and are based on current information available. All right, so yeah, like I said, I like to start with this slide just to level set our ServiceNow mindset and vision that we have. And we truly believe that behind every great experience is a great workflow. And so here specifically on the bottom, we can see that every company, organization has a portfolio of maybe legacy systems, cloud apps, and platforms within their ecosystem. And each of these tools may be unique to their departments, but this often results, we see in siloed systems of record, which ultimately is going to inhibit collaboration and automation across the org. And so when we think about the Now platform, it's not going to replace any of those systems of record or add another one. You already have tons of those. And what we can do is manage the workflow by working with those existing systems of record to understand the requests, decide on the process, and ultimately enable your users via automation and AI. And so that green box in the middle there represents the platform. And today we're going to focus on the HLA capability within our IT workflows, but additionally, we have a suite of offerings that encompass employee workflows, customer workflows, or even custom workflows powered by the App Engine like you see here. And then finally, all of it comes together in the user interaction. Like we've said, you've most likely already invested in maybe UI tools, mobile apps, or others. So rather than adding another piece to that puzzle, the Now platform is going to try to deliver workflows directly into those interfaces to advance digital transformation and act as that connective tissue within your organization. And so with that in mind, when we think about service at our organizations and what our brands provide, Great service is no longer optional. It's really become mandatory in the workplace and in the marketplace. Consumers, employees, we've all come to expect nothing less than fast, accurate, and simplified digital experiences. And all of that hinges on that digital strategy. Cloud computing, digital transformation, AI, machine learning, all huge keys that really need to be championed and taken advantage of to stay competitive in today's marketplace. And if we're missing the mark in these areas, it would not be surprising to see a lapse in employee and customer experience. And that's simply not an option for the C-suite anymore. I'm almost certain I'm not alone looking at this slide here. Maybe after a botched Uber Eats order or an issue with my Disney Plus, like you see up here, I'm certainly not a happy camper. And, maybe I don't go back to that app or that service anymore after that experience. So being able to get ahead of those issues and those bugs can be a key differentiator in the marketplace and keep all those engaged, satisfied throughout. But that can be easier said than done without the proper tools and modernization. And some of that is the roadblocks that you see here. So, first up, maybe there's too much noise. Yeah, you can still receive alerts with certain systems out there, but without intelligent diagnoses of issues, it can clutter very quickly, and it can be very hard to prioritize and focus on the alerts that matter. Also, too many outages, and that's to say, our SAP is not currently working. We had a P1 outage or a critical outage. This is going to have direct negative implications financially and in satisfaction, both internally and externally. And the key point is, we see prospects and customers that come to us, the response is almost always reactive rather than having tools that can be proactive and prevent issues from happening in the future. And then last but not least, which is super important, how can we dramatically improve the mean time to resolution? That is, if an issue's already happening, I want to know exactly how to resolve it as quickly as possible, and also identify the root cause faster so that we can take action and remediate that issue. And so our direct answer to those business issues is health log analytics, which is part of the predictive AIOps solution under ITOM. And the word predictive really matters in that and is a key differentiator. Our team thought, is there a way that we can build essentially an AI team member that will help you predict and therefore prevent issues and outages that affect your digital business? And again, there's no limits on that. HLA has the ability to monitor anything customer facing, any of your internal infrastructure, any of your internal platforms. So if I could put it into one sentence, HLA is going to be that engine that transforms your raw data into insights and delivers those insights to you in a timely manner, and also empowers you to take action against those insights. Just have to build this slide out. And so I'll use this slide just to show what really makes us unique in that space and in that market that is HLA. And that the differentiation between our AIOps products and some of the other options out there, what some of the other options out there may say is that, we have alerts from APM, from infrastructure monitoring, et cetera. And over time, those alerts can be extremely hard to deal with and keep track of. So then, when other vendors say, well, we'll have event management to reduce that noise. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, you're still very much reactive. And the reason is that because those alerts have already occurred, those thresholds have already been crossed, alerts have already been triggered. And if those alerts alone are being used for input to event management and AIOps, you're bound to stay reactive because you can't capture those issues early enough in the process before they occur. And this realization took us to the next level in thinking that, can we work with observability data to identify early signs of like service degradation, early signs of availability issues, outages as they evolve. And before they become an outage, we want to show you that, hey, something is not working properly. You should probably take a look at that as soon as possible, which can prevent those critical outages from happening in the future. So the type of data that we're looking at is different, and that allows us to achieve those outcomes. It's not just about alerts data HLA is going to bring together log data, metrics data, and now also trace data to identify if an issue is evolving and on the horizon, so to speak. And so this is a picture of predictive AI ops as a solution as a whole, but it contains two main products: health, which focuses on event management and operational intelligence, and also the HLA component that we're obviously focused on today. So in the middle portion here, that's the event management. And when we look at alerts data and events data from your existing tools, we have over 800 integrations in our store, and that effectively play nice within this ecosystem. So we can look at Dynatrace alerts, we can look at your New Relic stuff. And these predefined alerts can be used as an input to our event management. And it's part of the outcome we try to drive. We're not trying to replace any existing tools, but really optimize the efficiency of your overall ecosystem. And that's where the process starts. Now, if we look at the left side of this diagram, this is what the HLA is going to add. Bringing in that raw data from your servers, your applications, your middleware, whatever it may be. But we analyze that data in real time and identify some of the early warning signs which lead to events and outages. And in the middle portion of the diagram here in event management. And then bringing it all together, then utilizing the power of the platform, that is CMDB, to assess the impact of a given outage, knowledge-based articles, the ability to open incidents. This all comprised together is what going to drive the outcomes on the right. But the process begins here on the left side with the HLA. That's the important piece to note. So helping answer the right questions: what is causing the problems, outages that we're encountering, and in the future, providing predictive insights that can allow us to get ahead of those issues and prevent them from happening. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, what can we expect? What are we going to accomplish in bringing on health log analytics? So first up, using pattern recognition, you can expect to be able to correlate and consolidate tickets so that you can detect critical incidents before they escalate. We all know the negative ramifications here, and we do have quantified benefits from some of our customers. Millions of dollars saved through unplanned downtime, critical incident rates reduced up to 45%, and obviously all while instilling consumer confidence in your services. Next up, and getting to the root of the issues faster and cutting that mean time to resolution using Loom is another substantial piece of value that's made possible through HLA and our AI ops system. And so by automating that analysis, centralization and integration of logs from different sources, HLA is able to substantially reduce the number of hours needed to resolve IT incidents and generate millions in ROI through IT productivity improvements. And then lastly, we want HLA to be a driving factor in your IT organization reaching what we call a self-healing state. So essentially, HLA, when employed, will assist in bringing you from this reactive state where much of the processes are manual and on the fly to a state of self-healing. And I'll explain that a bit more in depth on this next slide here. Now, this is a slide that I like to show to all of my prospects and customers that I'm speaking with, just like you all, to help determine their IT operations maturity, ranging from reactive in stage 1 to self-healing in stage 4 on the right side of this slide. Now, this is not to make anybody feel bad, but Gartner and Forrester see most peer organizations tend to fall at either level 1 or level 2. And our goal with HLA is to help drive organizations and drive you all to the right side of this chart, regardless of where you sit today. And so when thinking about your own operations, I'd like to just, I'd like you to ask yourselves, where do you fall in this chart? Is everything manually driven, with few documented processes? Maybe you have point tools that solve specific departmental or use case driven outcomes, but still results in silos and manual digging into the root cause of issues. So I know Cooper had a survey ready to go. I'd love to, post that now and just see get a feel for where everybody sits today, just so we could understand, how we can best cater the presentation for you all coming up, the demo. So eager to hear back on that. But these are all questions that we need to ask ourselves in order to address how efficiently we're running our respective organizations. And with the goal of reaching level 4, we're consistently amazed to see our customers elevate their businesses, become laser focused on a single platform, and utilizing intelligent automation in their processes. And it's also important to note when we get to level 4, there's zero impact on end users. There's zero touch by the ops teams. And we see at this stage, IT's role going beyond supporting the business to actively informing and shaping business behaviors based on, the shared objectives between leaders on the IT side and on the business side. And HLA, we believe, and we've seen it happen, is an invaluable piece of driving this intelligent automation with our customers. And so now that brings us to the demo portion of today's presentation. I guess we can monitor the chat here, but if anybody has any questions, please keep it posted, and we'll get those answered for you as we go through. But without further ado, I will pass it over to my colleague Lauren.
Hey, thanks, Nick, and thanks so much for sharing. I 100% agree with everything you just said, and I hope to put pen to paper with the demo for the rest of our time. Let me know when you can see my screen pop up here.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome, great. So yeah, we'll be monitoring the Q&A box or the chat as well. Feel free to ask questions throughout, or if you want to wait to the end, we can address it there as well. But I'm going to start today's demonstration. This is going to be kind of reiterative of our first session in this 6-part webinar series. So if you're able to attend our predictive AIOps session, that was session 1, some of this might look a little bit familiar, but we're really going to be honing in this demo on the health log analytics or HLA piece that Nick was speaking to. If this is your first webinar in the series, we're so glad to have you, and feel free to ask any questions or go back and watch part 1 to get that broader picture of event management and how our health offering works overall. That'll be in the materials that Cooper is going to send out afterwards as well. But we're starting this demo in the operator workspace. And so this is pretty much, you can consider this the landing page when it comes to ITOM health or event management. This is really what we consider to be our single pane of glass, in that each of these colorful squares that you can see on my screen, these are each representing an application service that I have running in my environment in my ServiceNow instance, or in some cases, these might look familiar to you, like e-banking, the order status service, auditing. All of those are pretty common in a production environment, but also some things like the Linux servers. These aren't necessarily traditional services, but they are dynamic groups of configuration items straight out of my CMDB that I have activated so I can monitor them as if they were a service to that same level of detail. So this is really giving me that single pane of glass where I can see all of my services and also see the corresponding status of them based on these different colors you're seeing. So up here at the top, we have our key. I can see the different levels, the different severity levels of the alerts that in near real time are impacting my services right now. So for example, my e-banking service that we're going to use for today's demonstration is highlighted to be in red, meaning there is at this time a critical alert or multiple alerts, which we'll talk to, impacting my e-banking service, and I can kind of start to prioritize that way. So we have the single pane of glass to start with, and then I'm going to start to narrow down into one of my critical services today to start to really look at the log analytics alerts that are being brought in and how those can help us kind of get ahead of the curve that Nick was talking to. So I'm going to actually start by populating my service map so I can see where exactly in my service these alerts are talking to, what CIs supporting my service are really where I want to focus in on to remediate these alerts coming in. What are the logs talking about specifically? So before I even start to look at the alerts or the group of alerts or the logs for that matter, I really want to start high level. And for the service map, it's just like it sounds. It's looking end to end at each of your services from the endpoint here, looking at each of the individual connections that I have, and then of course, each of the individual configuration items or components that are directly supporting my service. And this is going to be one of the more high-level views of the service map. Again, in that first demo, we kind of deep dived into the service map when it comes to event management. But for today, what I want to focus on to get to that log data is really populating out my, my alerts that are happening on this service here. So I can see if I pop out this panel here, I can see the different alerts that are impacting my service at this point in time. We see that same color key that we saw at the service level back in our operator workspace on that single pane of glass landing page. And we can see those same colors highlighted at some of the configuration items that those alerts are directly impacting. So we can kind of narrow that view and start to hone in and troubleshoot more effectively when we know exactly where our alerts are talking to in our service. So in this case, it looks like we have the alerts that are impacting our load balancer here, some of our Tomcat servers as well. So I'm going to start by opening up the alerts. I have them sorted by priority here, and I can click through and it's going to tell me which of the configuration items these alerts are talking to as well. But I'm going to go ahead and open the highest priority alert, this group of alert here, and it's going to take me to that landing page so I can start to investigate and see what these alerts are really talking to. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit more about what that really means to have a group of alerts. And so we can see we're already looking at our source column. This is probably the easiest way to visualize that. And so Nick talked quite a bit about reducing that noise, reducing that mean time to resolution. This is one of the biggest ways we do that when it comes to ITOM health or log analytics specifically. And so what this means is this engine, as these different alerts are coming in, so this could include the more traditional metric-based alerts that you've connected to ServiceNow from a tool like Zabbix in this case, or Datadog, any of those, or in our case, our log analytics tool, which we'll talk more about, could be coming from something like Splunk, like the Amazon CloudWatch, Azure Log Analytics, any of those sources, and it's going to go through the log engine to be also grouped in with those metric-based alerts. And so that grouping is happening as these alerts are coming in. It's looking for those trends and these patterns. So it's looking to see, are these alerts coming in around the same time? Are they impacting the same configuration items with our CI-based alerting? So it's looking to see, are they talking about the same CIs? And are these CIs within the same service? What are the patterns we're seeing here so we can logically group all of these alerts that are coming in? And so this helps us with the noise reduction benefit because we're actually able to act on these groups in our example as 9 alerts into 1. So in
I think might have been a little internet issue there with Lauren.
Oh, did we lose her?
Yeah, I think we might have just lost Lauren. Quick.
Let me see here. Let me message her really quickly, see if she can come back on.
Yep.
If
All
not,
right, folks, just give us a few minutes and we can pull up the slide deck maybe again while she's jumping back on here.
There we go. Looks like she's coming back on. You know what, Cooper, while we wait, I can go into some of the use cases I was going to show.
Perfect.
Just to, give her some time to get back on and finish up.
Fantastic.
Let me share my screen. Maybe she's coming back on.
oh, there we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sorry
she's
about
back.
Sorry for our technical difficulties. Oh man, Zoom and my internet are not working together nicely today. I'm going to go ahead and kill my camera so I can save some bandwidth. Can you see my screen all right?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Were there any questions or where did I leave off at so we can pick right back up?
Yep, looks like it was right at this screen.
Right at this point. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. Glad I was able to get back in. I wasn't sure what that would mean for me this time, but glad I was able to get back in.
Quick
So
resolution, quick resolution.
So on that note, looking at our different log sources, right, it's going to use that automated grouping to bring in either those traditional metric-based alerts or the log-based alerts and group them intelligently to save you that time. So instead of getting 9, in this case, 9 different emails spamming your inbox from a monitoring perspective, you're able to act on them from the service level like we looked at and act on the alerts as a group without losing that visibility to the individual alerts. And so now as we're looking at our different alerts in this specific group, when we sort by the initial time generation for each of these events coming in, the first thing I want to highlight when it comes to our log analytics is that in this case, the log analytics, which are detecting anomalies versus traditional metric-based from the different tools you may connect or our agent client collector, they're really looking for those anomalies and the log data that's being in and being connected. And so this specific log alert, the first one in our group, was actually brought in almost 10 minutes before the first Zabbix alert in this case. And that's something our customers see a lot because the log analytics, like I mentioned, it's looking for deviations in normal behavior versus just acting on thresholds or waiting for that behavior to happen. It goes back to Nick's point when it comes to being proactive versus reactive when the alert has already taken place. We're really looking for those anomalies to get ahead of the game here. So I'm going to pop into our first log analytics specific alert. That was the highest priority in our group. And so it's going to look a little bit different when we're talking the overview. It's going to look a bit different than our traditional metric-based alerts coming from a tool like Zabbix or the agent client collector, because as I mentioned, we are specifically focused on getting to that anomaly and what's different here. What can we be predicting? So the first tab on the left that I want to talk to, this is looking and telling us, okay, why is this an anomaly? What's actually happening here? Why is this deviating from normal behavior? So it spells it out pretty clear in that there was an error in this example than in one of the specific configuration files. We can get additional details here, basically telling us that this pattern is anomalous. And looking over at the right, I still don't really understand what that means, but basically it's telling me that this isn't something we see often. This isn't an anomaly that we see. This configuration item is usually inactive. It doesn't have logs coming in telling me that this is an error. So this isn't a trend it's seen before and it wants to bring it to my attention. So it's a low volume log. It doesn't really come to our attention often, and we can actually see the exact timeline that those logs started to be populated relating to this specific configuration file, right? It's saying, okay, all of a sudden at around 9:47, we started to see a fluctuation in the type of logs with this specific configuration file. So something's going on here. To get some additional insights as well, it's going to actually tell us our meaningful log properties on the overview panel as well. So basically it's pulling out the key value pairs. It's going to extract those from the raw log data that's coming in to give you a better, more context, give you a better idea of what's actually happening there. So in this case, it's telling us there's a few different type of connection counts that it detected from the raw log data, but there was only one host. So that's important to know because in all of that raw log data, I don't have to necessarily spend time sorting through that, trying to analyze the raw log data. It's going to give me these insights right off the bat from our health log analytics engine that Nick was talking to. And so I can see that in all of those logs coming in, it was only talking to one specific host, one specific configuration item, this Linux 301 server that I already saw being in the red from my service map. And that kind of ties into this last point over here on this screen when it comes to why it's important to have your configuration items and be able to pinpoint what's being impacted. Because I know that this specific host is the one that the logs are talking to and there's not other hosts involved, because I have a strong CMDB, that digital foundation, I'm able to say, okay, where is this CI? What does that actually mean from a service level in my organization? What else is actually being impacted? And it's going to be able to trace that CI and tell me what other CI groups, what other services does that specific server support? So I can kind of triage and prioritize effectively to make sure I'm avoiding outages on my critical applications or services. Any questions at this point? I know we had a little bit of a pause there, but feel free to throw those in the chat or the Q&A. And at this point, we have our overview panel here at the log. So it's giving us quite a bit of detail about what this specific anomaly is, why it's an anomaly, and some other examples of that are built in to the ServiceNow Health Log Analytics are things like keywords, any new behaviors, any dynamic thresholds that you may have set, any brand new behavior that we just haven't seen before, things that are turning on, turning off. So we have quite a few built-in anomalies that we've trained the Health Log Analytics engine to go ahead and detect out of the box, but you can also set your own rules to tell the system to, hey, look for this specific change in log analytics, look for this keyword, that's going to be an anomaly for us. And on that note of trying to train the machine learning, right, make it custom to your environment, because things are going to be unique to your operations, unique to your different resources. And so the stronger you can make the machine learning, the stronger it's going to be to support your agents. And so I always like to highlight this apply machine learning feedback tab. This is going to be consistent across all of your event management panels. And so what this means is when you receive log alerts, for example, and it's telling you in this case, hey, there's an anomaly, Suddenly there's an error in this configuration log. What does this mean for you? So it's bringing this to your attention, but you have the opportunity to tell the machine learning and train it to say, okay, yeah, this actually is very weird for us. We definitely want to investigate further, mark it as significant, or vice versa. If this for some reason is something you face, you know there was a change coming in that might have affected this and it's okay for now, you can mute it as well to really train the machine learning to be custom to your environment. And that'll make it stronger and stronger over time. So we talked a lot, and a lot of the questions I get around log data is, how can we take this raw log data, ingest it into ServiceNow and make that meaningful for us? We don't just want an overview, we still want to maintain that visibility. And you absolutely do. And so when we're looking at the surrounding logs tab, this is exactly what you get here. It's going to go ahead and automatically customize this time frame to when the log anomalies were coming in. So it gives you that range. You can, of course, customize that. And it's going to give you that raw log data, but it's also going to automatically start to splice and dice this. So it's a lot more digestible. It's going to tell you the specific application service that's being impacted. What is this log actually talking about here? Which component? What specific CI is it talking to? And what is this summary message that the log is actually saying? So we don't have to sift through that raw message to figure that out. And that's going to be consistent throughout all the logs within that time frame. And you can also open the log viewer if you need to do some custom filtering or apply some queries to the logs there as well. And you can save those filters for future use there too. I do see a hand raise. We'll wait till the end if anyone wants to come off mute. Otherwise, if you want to ask your question now, feel free to throw that in the Q&A box. That's a little bit easier for us at this point. And so when it comes to getting to remediation, right, we've looked at the overview tab. It's gone ahead and summarized what the anomaly is that we're detecting, what information our logs are giving us. Something's deviated. We're seeing something we haven't seen before. We've looked at our surrounding log data. We're able to query that for a bit more information. But we want to get to remediation faster. We've had this 10-minute heads up in our example to get ahead of the curve, get ahead of these alerts, and potentially prevent an outage of our services. So this probable root cause tab is also in our traditional metric-based event management as well. It's not specific to logs, but it does apply to the logs as well. And what this is doing is it's looking across your other ITSM functions. It's looking across your ServiceNow ecosystem to see, okay, have there been any changes, either planned or unplanned, if we're looking at the configuration file comparison, that are affecting that same configuration item that we saw to kind of be the root of this specific log anomaly, that's talking about a specific configuration file on this specific configuration item, this Linux server. So have there been any changes to that in the same time frame that might be resulting in this error that we're seeing here in our alerts? So in this case, it is detecting something similar. It's a change log here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Still staying within our event management operator workspace, I can actually take a look at that change request, and I can see, okay, who was involved here, who ordered this change, what type of change was it, right? And so of course, our initial log alert was telling us that there was an error populating in that configuration file of our load balancer. We've confirmed that now several times. But this is filling us in on what things were specifically changed within the configuration file, maybe why that happened, what this change had to deal with. And then we can see the time frame and the schedule from within when that change was made. And it does, that 942 stamp was exactly when. We can go back to our initial log file here to match that up with that time frame of when these logs started coming in, telling us there was an error that was being populated because of that. So that's going to be more than likely our root cause, that change log that was found within our probable root cause tab. So at this point, we can see the time frame matching up. There's a change in that exact configuration file. Our logs are telling us there's an error being populated in that exact configuration file on the exact CI within the same time frame. So we know what's being said, and now we really need to turn to remediation to get ahead of the curve. Now, each of our events is going to have this actions tab that I have permissions to for each of the alerts, and it's going to give you potential remediation workflows that might be relevant based on the criteria it's detecting from your alert. And the first demo that we did for AI Ops, it was an easy resolution. We could go ahead and remediate with an automated workflow to expand the disk space in that case. So in some cases, we can really automate the remediations, but in other cases like this, we don't necessarily want to automatically go back and roll over that change or revert back to another image of that server, because we really want to understand why the change team did what they did. We don't want to mess up anything that might be planned for further changes. And so we can do something that's more of a common use case today, like go ahead and attach that log to the incident so we can save it for future reference, run that workflow to do that, and then collaborate with that change organizer who we have their contact information for on that change log and start to talk about things to remediate, like rolling back that change or how to proceed moving forward to take our e-banking service out of the red and into the green to potentially avoid that outage. So there's a lot to health log analytics and there's a lot to do with it. But the whole point here, and I think that Nick was talking to, is really getting ahead of the curve with detecting those anomalies and being able to get ahead of those potential outages and start to remediate in whatever way it looks like for you and for the specific anomaly that's occurring. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick to talk about some of the use cases that we've seen before with our HLA.
All right. Excellent job, Lauren. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Spectacular. Yeah, so like Lauren was saying, just, again, to sort of drill home the real world use cases for this, and just show what some of our customers have experienced in bringing this on. So, to start, we'll look at, this use case, which deals with their internal infrastructure. And this was an issue that a customer was experiencing with their VPNs in our now digital world with COVID, especially. You could say VPN has become like an oxygen in this new world of working from home. And when issues occur, it can be a huge productivity drain. This specific customer estimated that 1,800 hours of productivity can be lost throughout the year with these issues, in addition to a growing number of unhappy employees. And in their prior process, first of all, the amount of data that you have to collect is incredible. And it's from many, many sources, including Active Directory, Cisco, Mac and Windows-based endpoints, and Palo Alto networks that they were having to pull from. So when HLA was brought on, they were able to centralize all of that data on the Now platform, funnel it into data analysis, and then automate that resolution with intelligent chatbots that can generate tasks like you see on the right-hand side here. And so, and adding on to that, as you can see in the bottom, we were able to help them achieve a 91% reduction in VPN issues by implementing AI Ops and HLA, resulting in a massive amount of increased productivity across their IT teams. All right, so staying on the internal side, we'll look here at how HLA assists with internal platforms as well with this customer who was undertaking thousands of alerts every week with not a lot of intelligent automation to understand and predict those future issues that we keep talking to. And you can see the concrete results of bringing on HLA as essentially an AI team member for IT. 99% alert reduction, being able to predict issues 2 days in advance, which is invaluable. And then the big one on the end here, 300% improved productivity across their teams. That's absolutely amazing, and what we love to see for our customers, and it's going to be able to help them take their business to the next level ultimately. And then the last example I will show here, shifting to public facing issues that can occur with customers, as so many retailers invariably did across the pandemic. This organization experienced a vast uptick in orders during the pandemic, with folks ordering various items from home. Unfortunately, you couple that with a lot of unintelligent automation in regards to APM and log management, and that's where this company ultimately began to lose out on orders when they had a specific planned code change rolled out, and it resulted in a critical outage to their online order process, and sadly missed out on a lot of revenue opportunities and put their customers through a large number of bad digital experiences. And so when we started to work with them and brought on AI Ops and HLA, you can see the clear-cut benefits again here. Orders saved and customer satisfaction driven up. 78% faster issue and anomaly detection, which Lauren was detailing in her demo before, which leads us to more informed and automated smart detection so that we can understand and act on those issues that are forming. And then, lastly, a 40% cut in reduction to mean time to resolution. So looking at this full picture here, this retailer is able to, again, to now turn their raw data into insights, get those insights in a timely manner, and then take action against those insights and getting the clear-cut value from AI Ops and HLA specifically. All right, Lauren, and I will kick it back to you. I know you wanted to present this slide.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So just to kind of recap, we saw a lot in the demo, and that's going to be any case with ITOM health event management, but especially the health log analytics piece. So just kind of wanted to recap here so we can take this home and answer any questions. But starting on the left, we connect to your monitoring tools that you have in place, right? We really want to take the value that you're getting from those tools today and add our value from a ServiceNow perspective with things like the aggregation of those alerts. So your email is not getting bombarded with hundreds of alerts coming in per day that may not have the right meaning attached to them or help you to prioritize effectively. But we want to take the value of those different monitoring tools. We have our agent client collector monitoring tool as well. We want to get the whole picture of the data that you have deployed in your environments, whether that's for those metric-based alerts or for the logs that you have coming in today, that raw log data, bring it into ServiceNow, and then moving more to the right, apply those different capabilities that we looked at today to have those noise reduction, grouping the relevant log alerts that we're getting in with the metric-based alerts. So you have from the get-go, bringing this to the operator's fingertips, a clear idea of what these alerts are trying to tell you, so you can start to take action faster and have those alerts and those anomalies tied back to the corresponding configuration items in your CMDB. So you can see specifically and from the get-go, which of your services are being impacted, which are pending an outage. And so you can further prioritize based on those needs as well. And then moving more to the right, the whole purpose of that is to help you get ahead of the curve. So being able to predict, prevent those outages with things like automation and the workflows we talked about. But moving down a bit, it's not always going to be a click to run workflow. And as much as we wish it would, because we're an automation based company, of course, that's just not going to be feasible. There's times where you can't just overrun a change that was planned by the change management team. You have to be able to collaborate with those service owners and find out what might be a good resolution for all involved to stop those log anomalies from coming in, keep the service components healthy, but also make sure you have the complete picture for your organization. So being prepared, having that data, knowing what the anomalies are telling you, getting that vision like we looked at, that probable root cause tab, which told us, hey, there was a change the other day in the same time frame that might be resulting in this. So then we know who to talk to, and we can take that into account when it comes to SLAs and getting these remediations in place with the right folks. And then lastly, like we've talked about, people are always, it's people and process, right? We want to make sure your people at the bottom there are equipped with all the information they need to respond. And that kind of ties to the example we looked at today as well, being proactive with that log data, knowing who to connect with to get to resolution. And all of those different components, specifically within our health log analytics and ITOM health, we're hoping and helping to get you to that self-healing state, that level 4 on the different levels that Nick talked to in that survey we sent out. These are big components of it that are going to help you to get there so you can automate and have this heads up when it comes to what's going on and keeping your services healthy. Next. So we'll wrap up with this. We just kind of want to reiterate the key things and the key takeaways from today's presentation, right? Of course, the first one on the left, simplifying log analytics. Personally, every time I try to look at a raw log data message, it just, oh my gosh, it's just so complicated to look at. It really is. Maybe I'm missing something there, but it's very hard to figure out what the log is telling you. And it can take up quite a bit of time, especially at an enterprise level. So really our goal with our health log analytics is to simplify that log analytics piece. So we showed you how it's going to splice and dice those messages to get you a quicker message, get you a faster idea of what's going on without losing that visibility to the log data. And then of course, being able to manage that service health or a single pane of glass, being able to have that view, prioritize effectively and keep all the components healthy for ultimately healthier service delivery and operations. And then reducing that noise with things like aggregation, grouping those alerts, and having that log analytics engine do what it does to get you the messages you need and the information you need to ultimately reduce that mean time to resolution and be more proactive in your approach to operations. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to Cooper for any closing remarks, and then we'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. Thanks for joining us again. Appreciate you coming back. I think we can go ahead and answer some of the questions. I did see one come in just before I wrap up and discuss follow-up with the attendees. Nick, I know you had touched on it a little bit, but if we want to dive into it, the question came from Michael. It was, is there an integration with SecOps? If so, does it allow for the automatic creation of a security incident?
Yeah, so I answered pretty high level. I know it does integrate with SecOps, but Lauren, could you speak to the, I guess, dynamics of that and just dive a little deeper?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we do integrate, our entire event management platform is going to integrate pretty closely with SecOps when it comes to those incidents. And so that's not specific to log analytics, but I can definitely see the use case there. And so it would be up to you to create those different rules for that, but you absolutely can do that. So you can do things like, okay, if the alerts or the alert group or even specific log level meets the specific criteria 1, 2, and 3, we want you to automatically create a security incident from this workflow. We don't necessarily want to wait for somebody to click to create that incident. We want that to be created right away. So absolutely.
And I just want to make note, I know Darshana, I saw him raise his hand a few times. I did not miss you. I just wanted him to, or her to get a chance to ask that question. Here, I'll unmute.
I think that might have been popped up at the beginning. Just maybe say hello.
Gotcha. Okay. I saw a few hand waves. That's why I wanted to point it out.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and wrap up real quick. Please, if you have a question, drop it in. We can stay on for another minute or two to get that answered. But thank you all for attending the session today. Follow-up emails will be sent out that contain the links of not only the recording, but the slide deck from today's presentation. It will also house all the recordings and slide decks from the previous sessions in this multi-event series as well. Please check your spam folders. I know that some of those emails have been caught there. I've had some people reach back out to me. So please check your spam folder for that email. It will also contain that link to claim your Uber Eats gift card as a thank you for attending. So please enjoy your next meal on us. Our next session takes place next Wednesday, October 6th, same time. And we'll be discussing the ITOM and SecOps Better Together story. Nice little segue question there, Michael. So I really hope everyone has an awesome rest of their day and week, and we hope to see you at the future sessions in this series. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right. Thank you all.